Welcome to Desi Tea Talks, a podcast series focused to bring to you a unique and unfiltered take on life and all its nuances from three Indian expats currently settled in America.
So when we were discussing ideas on topics of for our first episode, we were unanimous in our decision and decided that we wanted to talk about chai or tea. And so we're here sipping on our cups of tea. So we encourage you all to grab a cup of your favorite tea or coffee or wine. Hey, it's 5 p.m. somewhere. And join us as we talk about our thoughts and experiences around tea. So let's just start with the basics. What is chai?
All right. So, chai actually means so many things to so many people all over the world. And while we were discussing about chai, like just among the three of us, we were like, "Oh, where did it come from? Or who drinks it? What type of chais are there in the world?" So many questions came, and some say it's an ancient herbal medicine. Some said it's a sweet spice drink from a coffee shop, or some say it's a way to connect with friends and family. Some say it's a hospitality thing. Some say it's a national drink of India. Lots of different things. But chai in reality actually originated in the parts of China. This was about 5,000 years ago that people in China started sipping on this yummy leaves, like boiled yummy leaves, and mixed with some spices. And people who spoke Mandarin and Cantonese referred to it as CHA, like cha. And the people like in the subcontinents and the other dialects that were spoken around that time referred to it as te. So very soon, this delicious drink started traveling all over the world through the traders at that time. Like it reached the Western countries and everything, and they picked up and they started calling it as te. And the parts of Indian subcontinents, everything started calling it as cha, like chai. So word chai itself in Hindi, it's a Hindi word for tea. So hold your breath here because when you go to a coffee shop and order chai tea, you're literally asking for tea. It's it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. On that tea, actually, Germans call it tea as well. So pretty interesting.
It's a funny story. So when I first came here and I went to Starbucks, they have it on their menu board, right? It says chai tea latte. And it was just so confusing to me. I was like, what does that mean? Are they going to give me like a double shot of tea? Or is it just a joke? And I was just so confused. And then obviously I just figured out that I don't think they knew what it really meant. And that's why it was there. But I think they don't call it that anymore. Is that right?
Yes, I think just like probably about a couple years ago they did drop the term uh chai tea latte, and I think they're just starting to call it chai latte now because I think at this point enough people know that like chai and masala chai kind of two words get thrown all over the world, like, and I mean uh like chai means anything that is like steeped in water to make the beverage, like it, you can make a beverage out of it. But when you throw in the word masala, it is like masala actually means a delicious blend of spices. So masala refers to a spice blend, and now when you put masala and chai together, it becomes a masala chai. But in Western countries, that's what they call it, chai tea latte. So now that enough people at this point have recognized that chai is a spice tea, and that's why they call it like chai latte. Now, would you ever order coffee coffee?
No.
You know, we
might.
should try that. We should. We should go to a Starbucks or some coffee shop and just say, "Hey, can I have a coffee?" Well, you say tea all the time.
I
But
know.
did they even take it off from the menus on the boards at Starbucks? I don't
So
remember seeing that.
No, I
I
don't. So
I think they did. So like just 2 days ago, I go and drive through to Starbucks, and I actually like wanted to see if they really had chai tea latte. So that's the funny thing. I went to two Starbucks. One of them had chai latte, and the other one had chai tea latte. So I think they're probably still working on it. But gotta admit that masala chai gets a lot of respect in the US. as long as they don't repeat themselves by calling them TT.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised that chai came from China because I thought chai was a very Indian thing when I was growing up, right? Uh, but that's why. So, on that note, chai was actually brought by the British to India because it was their afternoon drink, and very surprisingly, chai became the most popular drink in India. You change a state, you change a city, and the chai ingredients change. How people are making chai in different places. Like my grandma makes it so different than what my mother would actually make. So everybody likes their tea very specific ways. There's a masala chai, there's a tulsi chai, there is a cardamom tea. Actually, in Kashmir, there's a kava, which is also a type of tea, which is pretty good for your health, especially in that cold region. And then I remember going to Assam when I actually one of the northeastern states. I went there for a science congress as a kid, and the kids actually drink a lot of different varieties of tea. So that was very different tasting. So chai overall in India, I think as many languages, as many diversity of people you see, you'll see the kinds of variety of chai.
Oh,
Uh,
oh yeah. It's definitely a very personal preference on how you like your chai. And we're
I know.
specifically talking about the Indian tea, the brewed tea leaves that we drink. And you go from person to person, people are going to adapt it differently. People are going to make it their own. Some people put cardamom, some people put ginger, some people put milk, some people put no milk, and some people put more sugar. Funny story
Lots
about
of
that.
milk.
Oh yeah, funny story about that one. I first made tea for my now in-laws. I was, growing up, I never really learned to cook or anything, but the one thing I did learn was tea, and everybody used to enjoy my tea. So I was pretty confident I can make a decent batch of tea, at least, I mean, a good enough batch of tea. And I put cardamom in it, ginger, and it was smelling delicious. And my in-law said it smells great, and then they tasted it. And they're like, oh my gosh, this has like no sugar. And I know I put sugar in there. And then they added like 5 tablespoons of sugar to it. And they were like, okay, now it's good. And I'm like, well, at that point, you're just drinking sugar water. But hey, that's how they grew up drinking tea, and that's how they love their tea. You cannot assume that you know how to make a great batch of tea because what you like, somebody else may not like. So you got to be really careful with that.
I 100% agree. I think how you take your chai and what you match with it. Like some people like a specific kind of a biscuit, like Parle G is a very common thing. Some people actually eat a lot of sweets with chai, which I was like very surprised because if you're having a very sweet chai, how do you have like this burfi? But that's a pretty common thing. But on that note, I always feel chai is something that brings a lot of people in India together. That's their national drink, if I want to call it. People have always asked me in the US, what is that one thing that's very common in India? Like, is it a wine? Is it a beer? What kind of, drink is the most favorite? And I can never have the name for that, but I definitely know there's a chai that everybody loves to drink. There's always, if somebody comes to your place, you always offer them a cup of tea that, okay, ek cup chai zarur piyenge. So I think that chai is a very nationally integrated drink. People have it in a different varieties of flavors and recipes, but still everybody loves to have each other's tea, each other's cup of tea. Okay, I want to have your cup of tea today. It's not a
You
literal
know,
thing.
You know
Yeah,
what's funny is that like sometimes if you go to in India, when you go to like other people's house, I mean they all obviously give you a cup of tea, but if you go to their home and you deny a cup of tea, they actually feel bad.
I
yeah.
know.
So it's just like, okay, like I have to have tea even if I don't want to.
Yeah, it's such a social aspect more than anything else. Like, you know how when you have people over here, you're always like, water or drinks. And so in India, when anybody comes home, whether even if it's just like a delivery person, you're like the one thing you offer is water, and then the next thing you offer is tea. Because I think we all can admit there's a batch of tea brewing in all households in India at all times of the day at least.
Yeah, 100%. And if you have tea at one person's place and you do not have it at the other
Yeah,
person is definitely feeling bad about it.
yeah.
You take I remember back in Germany when I went there, I went to Germany for school, right? So back in Germany, my friends and I used to have my chai every day. So I was making chai, and then two of my very close friends, they were Italian, and one of this French guys, he was a new person in our dorm, and he's like, "Oh, what is it that you're making?" So I'm this person making chai, and my Italian friends are like, this is her special Indian tea." I made it for the entire floor. I think after the first year that we all lived together, my French friend was actually making tea for all of us. So he would make that chai for all of us, and he loved it so much. He carried the recipe. He made it for his family. So I think chai was a tradition I sort of gave over. It was a nice feeling that some French guy was making me chai.
Did you, since you were in Germany, did you end up calling it tea or you called
Yes.
it like chai?
I had to call it tea, but I also told them it's not tea because that's what I was gonna think. It's a chai tea latte there.
That's so
Well, I
funny.
think that's exactly how like the concept of the Indian tea especially has gone over all over the world is because we are spread all over the world, and so we obviously drink it everywhere, and so everybody knows about it and everybody's fascinated with Indian culture and Indian tea, especially because they're associated with us Indians. And I mean, you gotta give it to them. It's super delicious. So why won't you try it? And that's why it's so popular right now.
Yeah, and I think chai is a technology, if you want to say. India has mastered it. So they know how to grow their tea, they know how to harvest it, and they know how to export it across the world. So although we get tea from so many different places, remember we went to Latin America last year in Peru, we got those nice cocoa leaves, but Indian chai is still popular around.
Yeah, so for people who don't know what coca is, it's basically this, it's a plant that it's native to South America, and people use, especially people in higher altitudes, drink tea from this plant, from the leaves of this plant. It's called coca plant, and it just helps with altitude sickness. But fun fact about that is that this coca plant, the leaves of it actually contain alkaloids, which actually, when chemically extracted, can be used as a base of cocaine. And so, even it's in such small quantities, though, but it
No
still
one,
acts as a mild stimulant. And so that's why it's kind of compared to a strong cup of tea or coffee. And it's actually banned in a lot of the countries unless it's, you know, how you decaffeinate tea, you have to decoconize the coca tree to be able to drink it legally in America too.
That was a
no,
very delicious tea,
Yeah,
right?
but it's
I
yeah.
think
it's really delicious, and it really, I think it did help with the altitude sickness. I really
I
did think it did.
I don't know about the altitude sickness. I definitely loved it. I can have it in a plain land too. Give it to
Speaking
me.
of
No wonder
speaking of
it was like such a fun, fun trip because I think we were high on something all the time.
Yeah, and speaking of like, you know, teas in South America, I went to Argentina soon after that, and they have their own form of tea. They call it yerba mate, and it's actually one of the strongest forms of tea I've had. I think it has a really high caffeine content. And it's nothing like the coca plant. It's a whole different plant. It's from the mate plant, and they literally drink it in this like it's again like a ritual to drink this tea. They drink it in like with some specific straws, and so that because they brew the leaves in the cup that you're drinking it. It's basically like you scoop like instant coffee or tea. They put the dried leaves in the cup of hot tea. In a cup of hot water, and then drink it with the straw, and the straw just helps you avoid the leaves, but it is a strong cup of tea. You know, if you thought, you know, coca, you know, the coca leaves were, this was like really strong. And like you'll see drivers, you know how in India people drink their tea and their chai driving and all here, that's what they use to stay awake. They don't need no Red Bull or anything. That cup of tea will do it for you.
Cutting chai.
Oh yeah. Mumbai ki cutting chai, of course, a
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
popular
As
one.
a Mumbai girl, I vouch for that. Even though, I mean, admittedly, I'm not a huge fan of Indian chai. I think that's just from because I don't really like a lot of milk. I think I just don't like chai. But you know, it's such a Mumbai thing. Like even when I was in college, I remember there was this tea stall, a chai stall right outside my college, and we would go at each break. And oh my gosh, I need a break. I just had a 1 hour lecture. Oh my gosh, so I need to go take a break, and we would just all stand around that stall. We used to call it tapri, and just hang out there, being all cool, being all adulting. Yeah, you know, we're taking a break, sipping on our tea, and discussing future plans. None of them panned out, by the way, but it was such a social and fun thing. It's a very nostalgic memory for me, for sure.
I miss those days, man. Life was so much simpler. Chai was the only thing, and future was so much ready.
You know what they say, like the bigger deals, the business deals are made on the golf course, and the smaller deals, day-to-day deals are made on the chai tapri. So I guess the start of our podcast was over a chai too, right? But
Yeah.
I would,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
but I think we're gonna move on to the golf course next. So yeah.
Yes, think big for sure.
100%. And I think with chai, that now that you mentioned about the tapri, for me, chai would always be something you have to eat. You have to eat something with the chai, right? So is it samosa? Is it that papdi? But it's that something extra snack. So chai snacks has a whole lot of discussion. Maybe we should do another podcast about snacks that just go with tea.
Oh yeah, and I think that's another nostalgic memory for me. I was not allowed to drink tea growing up, but my parents allowed it on a Sunday or something. And for me, more than like drinking the tea, I was more interested in what I was eating it with. So to dip like a Parle G, as I mentioned, it's a cookie that's common in India. That cookie or like a rusk to dip that in tea and eat that was just heaven. And I used to not even finish my tea. I used to offer it back to my parents or my sister or grandma. I was like, do you want to finish my tea? Because I don't want it. I'm done eating it. So that was like such a standard like
I mean,
tradition in my house.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
you
think.
guys have like nice memories with food and chai. Like, I'll tell you a funny thing. Like, my husband was going around finding girls over chai. So this was, I'm sure everybody has this like a train memory, right? I'm sure all of us have been in the train, and the chai wala comes, and there will be like, so he was going in a train, and the chai wala came, and the chai wala said, "Kharab se kharab chai piyo," which means that drink the dirty chai. So this is like their tactic of like getting people to wake up and drink chai. So instead of saying garam chai, along with that, some chai walas also say kharab se kharab chai piyo, right?
That,
Kharab
that's
means dirty,
amazing.
by the way. And so listening to that, obviously, he woke up, and then the auntie next to him in the, same compartment woke up, and then they started talking. And this auntie was like actually, uh, like, India is popular for arranged marriages. So this auntie was showing him girls like, oh, my sister's daughter is looking for a guy, and what do you think? And would you like to see her over the picture? And he's like, what did chai bring to me? So who would have
Wait,
thought that
is that how you met him? Is that how your rishta
no,
went
that
to him?
no, no. Well, I met him in Mardi Gras, so that's a story for some other
Oh,
time.
okay. Yeah, we
So
will be
that was
discussing that.
that was not over chai, 100%. But aunties in India, they definitely have rishtas every time.
I know,
Meet them
but I
anywhere
guess,
to
but
have it.
I guess we could have it over like a Long Island iced tea or something like that. Well, that would be fun.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. By the way, that cocktail has no tea in it. It's very deceptively named, but it'll get you there for sure.
Yeah.
Right where you want it to be, right? Like bring it one, bring it two. But I still sometimes wonder why they call it like tea. Probably because it's the color of tea, or I
It's
have
the
no
dirty
idea.
chai.
It's a dirty chai, yeah.
The kharab chai.
Yeah. I had some friends in Japan on my trip to Japan, and like, so this was very interesting. Those guys are so particular about their chai, or I should call it tea, because chai, when it comes to chai, they'll put like 4 packets of sugar. But when it comes to tea, green tea is the most popular thing there. And when you order a cup of green tea, there is no like asking, okay, or substitution, can I have this, or can I have that, or can I have extra packet of stevia, or none of that stuff, because they get offended if you try to change their green tea. Do you know that? So like, if you, I
Yeah.
mean, they expect you to drink it the way they serve it, because they believe that they have served it in the best form, and that's how you should be drinking tea. So my
Yeah.
Japanese friend over there, and she's like, Prisha, can you make that chai, but can you please add some more sugar? I'm like, don't you drink your green tea without the sugar? She goes, yeah, they're two totally different things. I'm like,
Well, you know what? I will agree though. Like green tea has its own flavor, and personally, again, I don't think it needs any sugar or honey or anything, and it's delicious as is, and it has so many health benefits to it. I personally am a big fan of green tea, oolong tea, herbal teas too, and I prefer drinking those, like the decaffeinated, low caffeine ones over caffeine. I just try to avoid drinking caffeine, and so I prefer to drink those. And interesting story about that is this was a few years ago. I went to my physician to do an annual checkup, and so we were just chatting about my diet, about what I eat, what I don't eat, what I drink, what I don't drink. And so I was telling her everything, and then I told her, oh yeah, I don't really drink coffee or tea. I was trying to be all cool and trying to show off that I'm very healthy and taking care of myself. She's like, yeah, I don't drink any of that. I just drink herbal teas, and chamomile tea is my favorite. And she's like, she just stopped and she's like, oh, do you drink it every day? And I'm like, oh, no, I don't drink it every day. I probably, like every 2, 3 days, whatever. I just said something. And she was just like, okay, as long as you're not drinking it every day and not too much, it's okay. And I never got to ask her what that was about. And I just got busy with everything and I had to leave. But then that just stuck with me. And I came back home and I started doing my research because I was always under the impression that, herbal teas, it's coming from plants, it's naturally extracted. What's possibly wrong with it? And I started first looking into chamomile tea. And when I was doing my research, I found out that chamomile, the plant, the leaves of the plant actually contain this compound, which can actually act as a mild blood thinning substance. So if you already have, blood thinning issues, that could complicate matters. And same goes for a lot of the herbal teas, as we call them. A lot of them are not even studied, but some of them that have been studied, they've, known to cause iron deficiencies. What basically happens, and a lot of the teas, actually herbal or not, they have tannins and they bind to the iron that we eat or consume somehow. And so that gets, that gets absent from absorption in our digestive tract. And so that causes iron deficiency, which is very common in women. And, say, suppose you have some sort of allergies or something that you don't even know about. A lot of us just go by living without knowing certain things that we have. And so certain things, even if they're natural, when you don't know anything about it, sometimes it causes reactions in your body that you can't control, and it causes negative things to happen. So it's always good, in my opinion, to do your research about anything that you're putting in your body. So my fundamental is pretty simple. Do everything in moderation. You don't need to overdo anything. And as long as, if you have any questions, you can always, consult your healthcare provider. But it's just something I wanted to share because I didn't know about it before. I looked into it.
I would never imagine tea would be one of the reasons that I have a deficiency, if anything.
And again, this is all like when you consume too much of it. And, like I said, the key is moderation. Aishwarya, that goes for you. You know why you're laughing. She loves her tea a lot.
1 cup every day and 2 cups when I'm in stress. And I've been in stress pretty much lately.
Like every 2 hours, you're in stress. Yeah. Hey, nowadays, well, now that we're in the COVID times, like some people in India actually are promoting more to drink chai, only because like the masala chai and the kada part of it, which has like a lot of like cardamom, cloves, ginger, carom seeds, fennel seeds, tulsi, all of these good things, that build your immunity. So not saying that it's a cure for coronavirus, but it is definitely a immunity booster that will probably, and guess what? It does taste good. I like to have it with a little bit of jaggery, the brown sugar.
Yeah.
I don't know how some people have it, but definitely not sugar because you're trying to build immunity there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 100%. And cinnamon, and I've started using black pepper too. So.
Oh yeah. That'll keep all colds away. And you get these immunity shots in a lot of the grocery stores and stuff now. And it's literally, a lot of it is just not necessarily chai, but it's a lot of these spices and, good immunity boosting everyday things that we use. They're just brewed in water, and that's all it is. And it's, we should all have it, whether it's COVID or not, just for like an immunity boost that we need.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Like a couple of days ago, like my Masi from India, she goes like, what do you do with your leftover tea? And I'm like, I don't know, toss it out. Or, she goes, did you know that it could be a good fertilizer for plants? And I'm like, oh my gosh, how many faces does tea have? Like, there are already so many different types, so many health benefits. And they're like, whatever your leftover tea is, let it dry and you can just put it in your plant.
That's a very good point. But that, what the key to that is, it's very important that whatever tea it is, it's non-flavored. Because if it has like this, you have all these flavored, naturally flavored, artificially flavored teas, those teas are actually not good for the plants. They actually die from that. So as long as it's just like a natural tea, then it's okay. So it's very important that you remember, because I've killed some plants doing that, because I've heard that before too.
I hope your tomatoes are doing well right now.
They are.
Talking about chai, like, do you guys use like any particular kind of milk or anything? Because, in India, like some parts use buffalo milk, cow milk, goat milk. In India, camel milk, which was very surprising to me. I think it was in the parts of Pushkar, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know how it's gonna
Yeah,
taste.
yeah.
So
No, I think our options are limited here with respect to like camel milk, especially. Even goat milk is hard to get, buffalo milk. So I think, I mean, over here, I just use, whole milk, cow's milk here. But I think in India, mostly people use buffalo milk.
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
people
yeah.
do that. And I think even with the cow milk, I try to get the right percentage for my tea because I don't want it to be super watery. I want it the right way. So I actually get the 2% one just because I want it a little bit, but not so much. So yeah, it's a
Harsha wants,
preference.
my husband wants like the whole milk. Like he wants it, the good stuff.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
can
gosh, the
imagine.
hardest part was when my parents came in 2017, first trip to America, and obviously look at our teacups. Like they're huge as compared to the ones you get in India.
The little
So
ones, the
yeah,
mini
so in
ones.
India, they're used to getting adha cup chai, which
Right.
means half a cup of chai. Now imagine that, and they want already the cup is this tiny, like maybe like 4 sips, and they want a half of that. So you got to do all this shenanigans of making tea just for like 2 sips. But it's the
Yeah,
culture, hey,
the
right?
It's a
thing in
shotgun.
India
It's a
is, yeah,
shotgun.
the thing in India is there's so many people to share that it's fine. But here, when we make it, it's usually for one or two people, and it doesn't make sense to like brew a whole batch of tea. Not that it takes hours or anything, but still to make like to go put in so much effort for like adha cup chai, as Parija said, which is half a cup of tea, is just
Yeah.
funny to me. But our parents function off of that. They're wired. They need their tea in the morning. I'm sure like your parents and elders are like that too. They need the tea this time and this time. They have that routine and that cannot be disturbed.
Oh, 100%. 5 a.m. tea, 7 a.m. tea, and then, so they have it at the breakfast. Even if they're having their aloo paratha with all the yogurt, they'll have tea right after that. So tea, it's yeah. And to Parija's point about parents, I remember my dad just gave me a hard time. He's like, by the time tea comes here, it's all like cold. I cannot have it right away. This is a big mug. So all those small little cups that she had, she actually transferred it over to me for my parents.
And I told my parents that next time you come to US,
Bring your
like
own stuff.
always ask, like, what do we bring? I'm like, bring your own cups of tea, like,
No,
cups
that's
for
so funny.
tea. Yeah.
My parents actually did that the last time they came. They bought those little like glass cups, those like cutting chai cups
I
as we
know.
call them. And they like, just keep it here. You can keep it here now. Just these 6 cups, we need them here. And I'm like, okay, I'll save them and put them in the back. So literally, they're in the back of my cabinets, and they come out only when like my parents are here, or sometimes when my in-laws come here, I put them out because they also like prefer that little bit of tea.
But to
I
your point on the fertilizers, do you know we also use tea for cooking?
Yes,
Oh, tea for
Indian
cooking. Oh
cooking.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Now that you
so
say, I'm thinking about the recipes that we use.
yeah, like a typical North Indian chole bhature, that whole black color is actually
Yeah.
done with the
Yeah.
tea. I mean, nowadays you get those mixed spices, but the original recipe comes with all the real tea, and you have to soak it overnight, boil it for like a couple of hours. So tea is not just for drinking like a beverage. It has so many different flavors to it, like so many different uses. Yeah, I want to eat those chole bhature now.
Now you're making all of us hungry here. I mean, right now it's like raining here in Pittsburgh, and like all like my husband came and he's like, "Oh, pakode banane," and then I was like, then he goes, "Chai bhi banayegi na uske saath?" I was like, "Sure." Like pakoras is fritters, and fritters and chai are just a great combination by themselves. So.
And especially in the rainy season.
Yeah, so it's a very
A
common like
staple.
Indian thing that if it's raining, we have to have chai and pakoras. It's
Yeah.
basically like tea and like a savory, spicy fried fritter. Like who doesn't want that? That sounds actually very delicious right now. Like I said, like tea, it's more like what you eat with the
Eat with
tea. A
it too.
lot of it is just that snack that you get with the tea. I
Yeah.
think we all associate tea. It's more like a happy hour because usually tea time is either in the morning just to wake up, or it's like right between lunch and dinner. So it's that right at the 5 p.m. like snack time, and it's like basically a happy hour where you just indulge in snacks and tea.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about what you eat with it.
Yeah, I mean, you know how in like California and DC and where there are a lot of like Asian population, boba teas is a popular thing. So now that I moved from California, like I was obsessed with boba tea in Cali. Like I literally found places and I would want to go there at least once a day and get my half sweet, half ice boba tea with
So
certain
much
flavors.
sugar.
And no, that's why I got
I'm
it half
shaking my
sweet.
head.
Yeah.
That half sweet is still a lot of sugar.
So I ended up buying a tea maker and I got those syrups, everything online, just so because apparently we don't have that many in Pittsburgh. And yeah, so I brew my own tea at home now. In
So
case you
Mansi,
all want a boba tea, yeah, might have
Mansi,
like a boba tea truck very soon.
yeah, Mansi, this is what we're gifting her for Christmas next time.
What,
A tea
another
truck?
tea maker? I think
Well,
all of us love our tea in one form or the other. I think it's just that the idea of like a warm, hot cup of tea holding in the hand and just drinking it to wake up, whether it's herbal, whether it's Indian chai or some sort of tea, we all love it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think tea, although it sounds very small, it's actually a big business thing these days. Like so many people are making a lot of money, a lot of startups and just tea making machines and if any technology that can master how you make a tea or there are so many tea joints. Parija, remember there was this Australian girl who had this big tea chain somewhere. She got this, I don't remember her story completely.
yes, so like definitely chai has no boundaries that I think we all can agree on. But the successful young Indian woman based in Australia, she was a lawyer by profession, but she chose to sell tea or to sell chai over practicing law. And in 2016, she went on to become like the top 30 businesswomen
Right.
in Sydney. So
That's
pretty
impressive.
inspiring that like, chai could be a career too.
Yeah, I want to open one in
Yeah.
Seattle downtown.
You should. We'll support you 100%.
Full chai tapri, Desi chai tapri by Aisha.
Right? Like the chai wali of
That's actually a
Seattle.
great name. You should totally do it. Aisha's Chai Tapri.
Ooh, Aisha's chai tapri and snacks, the Indian style.
All right. All right, guys. So I think on that note, let's do a little cheers with a tea. And I think would like to end this episode. So thank you for listening to the first episode of Desi Tea Talks. We also have a YouTube channel. We will be uploading this podcast on there. So if you want to watch us talk about this, please go subscribe there. Show us some love. Hit that like button. We also have an Instagram account. We have a Facebook account. Go follow us there. We will be updating and uploading our schedule there, more posts there. So go follow us there, and we will see you next time. So stay safe and stay healthy. Bye.
You're listening to Desi Tea Talks by Aishwarya, Manasi, and Parija.